Hey guys, and welcome back to the finale of Super Castlevania 4. Oh man, that stirring rendition, it's getting me pumped to just punch Dracula in the face with a fucking whip like it's wrapped around my fist. It's basically like knuckle dusters at this point.
And now we get to play one of the best tracks in the series, one of the most iconic when people think of Castlevania. Fucking Bloody Tears, and in this particular rendition sounds just beautiful in my opinion.
We were having a little bit of a chinwag, a talky talk, if you will, to put it in proper limey terms, before we started recording here, and it was like, what are some of the best Castlevania musical pieces you think of when you think of the franchise? Like, for me, Bloody Tears is up there. You've got Vampire Killer. I also really like Bloodlines from Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo.
My personal favorite music that I think of when I think of Castlevania is Reincarnated Soul, the first stage music from Castlevania Bloodlines for the Sega Genesis. It's just super funky cool, and it uses the Sega Genesis, farty sound processor to the utmost effect. It's the best example of that kind of music in my opinion, and it's just kicking.
We call it metallic bass, okay? Calling it farty bass is a disgrace to the name of Sega!
Well, you also call it the Mega Drive, and that's clearly wrong, so I'm sorry.
Well, it's a drive that's mega. What do you expect? Anywho, welcome to Stage A, I guess. We're getting pretty deep into Dracula's castle right now, into Castlevania, if you will. But we're not numbering the levels anymore. Oh no, this is Stage A, Clock Tower.
You can be Stage 1, we'll be Stage A.
Yeah, we're the alternative method of naming stages.
No, seriously, why didn't they name it what is this, chronologically? Is this Stage 9, Stage 10?
I would call it Stage 10, yeah.
Okay, I don't see why they didn't name it, Stage 10. Is it, operating on hexadecimal, where it can only go up to a certain number and then has to jump over the letters?
Oh man, you use the word with far too many syllables for my brain to process right there.
Well, I don't know, I kind of struggle with any word with syllables, in my opinion, so I'm kind of surprised I actually said hexadecimal properly.
We haven't really commented on many of the set pieces and whatnot as we've gone through the game. We've mostly just been having a nice chat every now and again. Trust me, they're brilliant. It's just that a lot of them are super fast. They come and go before we really have a chance to delve into them properly. But this is one big love letter to, I would say, Castlevania 3, because I can't really recall many gears and whatnot in the original Castlevania until maybe the very last level. This puts me more in mind of the third game more than anything else, but I think it's done a lot better here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more fair. You don't have to deal with kind of the crushy room bullshit that they were pulling. You have more of a chance to enjoy the scenery. And what, I have to say, I don't particularly think it's bad that a game is easy at times, if it, builds good atmosphere and there's enough of a challenge. I feel that's more important than just being ball-bustingly hard. And with this game, you can kind of enjoy what you're confronting without being, super frustrated by all the stuff you have to deal with. So I feel it's a good compromise.
Oh man, I love these things. They're both goofy and also awesome at the same time, but these things will never be goofy or awesome. These things deserve to die, these things being the skeleton dragons, of course.
What's not awesome about a skeleton dragon? That's actually kind of rad. That's shit you see on a heavy metal cover. That's exactly what it's made for.
Well, not when they're trying to kill me. It's kind of hard to appreciate anything. It's like fucking food poisoning. You had a really good hot dog, but oh no, now you're dying. Whoopsie doodle.
Man, just watching this game in motion. Oh wait, are we fighting a boss?
Yeah, you always seem to strike up an interesting topic when we're about to fight a boss, but this guy here, you can't have a Castlevania 1 remake without the mummy. This is Akmodan 2. He teleports about, he fires his rags at you, of course he'll spit fireballs, but the cross, with most bosses, will just completely devastate him. And I could have sworn for a second I fell off the clock hands there, but oh well, I am in control of my destiny, not the clock hands.
As you know, mummies are particularly adept at shooting fireballs from their head, an ability demonstrated by many of them.
Yes, well they get it from Ra, the sun god, of course.
Mummies Alive was such a dumb fucking show.
Stop shitting on Mummies Alive every fucking playthrough.
Well, that's because it's a shitty show, Tom. Well, you want me to talk shit about, the Sharks show? What was it, Street Sharks or fucking...
Street Sharks, yes!
Street Sharks wasn't good either, and you know it.
Kiss my ass.
Anyway.
Stage B.
Now you're just messing with me. Anyway, back to what I was saying, You know, watching these kind of games in motion really does kind of make me regret that I never really got in on the SNES crowd. Because my Genesis, I got that late. I got it from a pawn shop that my dad brought home randomly one day. I never got it for Christmas or anything like that. I don't even think... I may have asked for an SNES like once. I don't honestly remember. Mostly I was kicking back with my Game Boy, which I kept up, you know, like for most of its life. Well, I started with a Game Boy Color, but the thing is, like, you know, it makes me kind of miss all the original experiences that you guys had with these kind of games, because back then, you know, games were still new and fresh, and like, it wasn't as saturated as it is these days, and there was all this inventive new stuff to find and explore and things like that, and you know, I would just read about it in like magazines, and that was really the only way I could experience that kind of stuff, so it does kind of make me pine a little, I have to admit.
I understand where you're coming from, and I also understand to like certain people out there that may sound like a very cynical, like nostalgia fagging kind of thing, but I do get like a twinge of regret sometimes. You know, having grown up with like the Marios and the Sonics, maybe having played the Castlevania games back then would have turned me off the series. Like I just wouldn't have been able to beat them at all, and I may not have been able to appreciate them at the time. But now I have the skill of a 9-year-old at the very least, so I'm able to best them as good as a 9-year-old can. So you know, the Castlevania games have grown on me, and I am starting to see the appeal of the Metroidvania, so who knows where we'll go from Super Castlevania 4.
Hey, there is a lot of skill in hitting that load state button, you've got no idea.
Okay, this is one of those bullshit sections you were talking about before. You see the buzzsaw down below?
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you gotta like get up to the top as fast as you can, and I'm pretty sure if you miss time, you're walking on the stairs, you're pretty much dead, unless there's like a swingy thing nearby, and there not often is, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, it is near the end of the game, so I expect a challenge like this, but at the same time, I have never been a fan. See, you're getting a little close now, you're spooking me out. I've never been a fan of these kind of time sections in any video game, really. I just don't like timed events. It's like, what was that one picture? You know, time, underwater, stealth, escort mission, the game?
Yeah, something like that. Reminds me a little bit of Ripsaw Rage from Donkey Kong Country 3. Now that put the fear in Young Tom 64, I can tell you that much, especially when you go for the DK coin.
Oh man, I have not done enough time with Donkey Kong to really kind of get that. That was another game I kind of regret missing out on, because my friend actually had that game. I believe he had 3, and I think he also had 2. And he would play that on the SNES, and I would just never... I could only really enjoy it passively from a distance, and that's something I also still kind of regret.
It's like, what are these monkeys doing? Jumping from one platform to another, throwing bananas instead of poop? What's going on?
It looked fun, and, you know, this was the same friend who also had Croc for his PlayStation, and Croc is admittedly not that good, you know, with retrospect, but still, it was something new and exciting at the time. I was like, wow, it's in 3D, that's bonkers, man.
Yeah, he has tank controls that he goes, yow, a lot.
That's true, and he has like a weird, what was it, like a tail swipe, that was his move?
He has that, but he also has the classic Mario-esque butt bounce as well.
Okay, didn't they say that Croc was actually supposed to be a Yoshi game before they eventually took it to the PlayStation and just made it as Croc?
I've never heard that rumor, so I think you may have invented it.
No, I've heard it somewhere, but anyway.
Okay guys, you ready for another boss fight? Because they're gonna keep coming, and they won't stop coming from this point. It's time to fight Slogra.
Okay, this guy is definitely a boss you fight, in Symphony of the Night. This and like one other dude, who I believe is a flying motherfucker that actually carries this guy around and they do like a team-up attack.
Much like with that knight earlier that I destroyed, this guy has 2 phases. The first one, he'll basically try and stab you with a spear, which also shoots fireballs, because of course it does. Just kind of like duck down. Whenever you hit him, and this is key to actually winning the fight, he will like jump and then come down where you hit him from. So once you realise that, you can basically figure out his pattern.
After that, he seems to lose his spear and decides to rely solely on beak kung fu.
He can dash at you pretty fucking quickly though, so don't be surprised if it takes you a few tries to get this one down pat.
Well, I mean, you know, he's always armed to an extent because he decides to use his beak kung fu, although I would think the claws would be a safer gamble in my opinion.
Man, I need some wall tricking like right now.
Man, I love that about these games, where you just beat up the wall and you get chicken out of it for some reason.
Lovely curtains. Bit too fancy for Dracula. I might take him with me.
I really don't think Dracula gives a fuck about the curtains. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, I suppose so.
At least he got some health back from the torch chicken, which isn't as good as wall chicken, but you know what? I'll take what I can get.
Well, it's like KFC versus like Church's chicken. What are you gonna do? Alright, next boss. This is Gaibon.
I want to say that one of these bosses was actually the inspiration for Garamoth, the final boss in A Kid Dracula, and I believe it was this motherfucker, actually.
Well, it calls him, the FAQ, Slogger's Companion, but other than that, I'm not really sure. He also has 2 forms. I found him much easier than Slogger.
Man, you killed Red Aramer, like, really fast.
It's like bow, 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 bow!
I mean, Simon should have been doing Ghosts and Goblins. He would have just whooped the shit out of everybody. Now, I'm trying to see if we're up at that particular point, because I actually remember a tip about this level that I learned from the old GamePro show they used to have on TV that I love watching just for pure nostalgia.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Don't worry, I'll let you explain it once we get to it.
And here is Death in all of his glory, because you always need a death in a Castlevania game, no matter what.
The FAQ and I will tell you that the left side of the screen is the safest side. You can just basically like whip up at him when he comes for you.
Yeah, but the thing is about Death, he always tends to have 2 forms. I don't know if he has 2 forms in this game, but usually when I fight him, he has 2 forms.
That would be a little bit unfair, I think, mostly because it's just made you fight like 3 bosses in a row. But no, he doesn't have a second form here.
It's the final level, motherfucker! Do something about it!
Okay, is the secret coming up?
Yeah. Ooh, that music from the intro.
Oh, the tension.
Down here. Yeah, you found it. It's the secret platform, and it drops a ton of health, a ton of hearts, and whip power-ups if you don't have any already.
And I believe, like, the 2 and the 3 upgrades as well for your sub-weapons.
Yeah, so basically if you find that, you are, like, fully stocked for your final battle with Dracula, which is a pretty good trick.
Now, I gotta say, I think I like the final boss, like, the Castlevania 1 version of Dracula, a little bit better, because he has 2 forms in that one. He has, like, phases in this version of the fight, which is fine, but I feel like it's a little bit less of a challenge, like a pure challenge.
Well, I mean, I understand. I mean, you typically have more experience with these than me. I don't know. I just kind of like the whole setup of, like, the fight here. I like how he does his traditional fire shot, but it actually kind of spreads out when you hit it. Which is usually something he doesn't do, so... And for some reason, that energy created turkey, alright.
Yeah. If you can survive the onslaught of, like, the Toho-esque bullet barrage, it will grant you chicken. Such is the way of things in the world of Castlevania.
Even back then, they had bullet hells. It's ridiculous.
So you never got up to this point in your original playthrough?
I don't think I did, no. If I did, trust me, I would have save scummed the hell out of it.
I would have bragged about it relentlessly once we got here. Phase 2 isn't that much harder than Phase 1. You've just got to space yourself out decently enough. Crosses basically destroy any boss in the game, I'm going to be honest with you. So just make good use of them. I mean, you've got like 99 hearts, you may as well go all out, because there's no bosses after this.
Well, if you use the secret trick, but what if you did not use the secret trick? What if you wanted to go hardcore?
Well, I guess you could play more conservatively, but that's not my style.
I know that. Your style is just to kind of tank it, knowing that you have the power of the emulator by your side.
Oh yeah, that's rich coming from you, Mr. Save State
I'm
Man.
not saying that's bad, because that's what I would have done.
Oh, the power of the flail whip gets me every time. Alright guys, final phase. And we get some appropriate music for this motherfucker.
Man, I hope you guys are allowed to see red, and for some reason his skin falls off when he gets to this phase. I don't know why.
Well, he's been whipped to death. What do you expect?
Well, you did whip him in the face a bunch. Yeah, I guess that would have led some welting, you know, something like that.
I love theme music like fucking power-ups or final phases.
I fucking love it too, especially when it has cool lyrics and you're just rocking the fuck out when you fight the final boss. It's the best feeling.
I'm looking at you, it has to be this way from Metal Gear Rising.
Oh, definitely, like, straight up.
What's cool about that is, when you drop your sword, the lyrics go away, and when you, like, pick it back up, the lyrics kick right back in.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
But yeah, Dracula, he's not too hard, and overall Super Castlevania 4 is, I would say, like, a downgrade slightly in difficulty. Like, Castlevanias 1 and 3 especially were much harder. 2 I've never played, so I can't give you my opinion. But I feel the arcadey style of 4 lends itself a lot better to be more accessible. So I would definitely recommend, if you're having trouble with like 1 or 3, pick up this. I think you'll have a good time, but don't be surprised if you die on some of the later stages. It is a Castlevania game after all.
Other than that, a solid adventure all around.
Oh yes, what's your final opinion on Super Castlevania 4, my friend?
Play it, motherfuckers!
What are you doing? You ain't got time, we loaded that shit for you!
Press A! Whip it!
Very, like, downplayed bit of music for beating the Lord of Darkness. I like my endings to be explosive!
Yeah, but it's a nice moment of peace. You have earned your rest after trekking all this way to defeat Dracula, and now, dismantling his castle. Because as you know, every time he dies, the fucking place falls down and they have to rebuild it all over again.
Oh, judging by the animation, it just gets lowered into the ground. Don't believe the lies of the ending scene. Okay, guys, I have been ntom64.
And I've been THD.
And we hope you have enjoyed our Halloween smorgasbord of new playthroughs. Join us next time for another HFC playthrough. Bye-bye.